Seems it is not. So, in the top right-hand corner, we have Fanaticist. And in the bottom right-hand corner, we have iRk's Tim. I'm going to check my volume just a bit here. Bring these up a bit. Hopefully these are at a reasonable place in the mix now. If they're not, you guys can let me know. Shout at me and we'll adjust that for you. But a little bit of backstory on the two players and why this match happened, why this match spawned is basically, of course, I'm running the new lower level player Discord, just trying to help people that are new to the game, have a nice community to play with, practice with, learn a bit about the game, those kind of things. And these are two of the guys that have been helping me a ton. They've known each other for a while, and they're sort of this kind of good-natured, all right, who's going to be the top dog in the Discord in terms of player skill, and then just general good-natured banter. And then there's the whole thing of the fact that Jealous has been a coach in this CPL before, a player coach, maybe not one of the strongest coaches, but a generally knowledgeable player and whatnot. And Tim, of course, has been a CPL player up until recently, but he has made massive gains this CPL, over 250 or maybe even over 300 MMR in the course of this CPL. And it's not like 300 MMR from 900 to 1200. It's 300 MMR from 1750 to 2050. And that is a pretty big jump. And, in 4 months, most people don't make those kind of jumps. So Tim is on quite an ascendant trajectory. And so that's sort of what makes the match a little bit interesting here. It's kind of like the student tries to take down the teacher, plus a little bit of good-natured grudging and superiority title battling. And we see, of course, both players have opted for gate and gas, so we're not going to have any 2-gate or proxy shenanigans at this stage of the map. But we'll see what has been prepared here. My understanding is both players were, maybe they weren't going to sit down and go 10 hours a day, but, they want to win. They want to win. There's pride on the line here. And we see the core right away for Fanaticist, and the same for Tim. In fact, almost identical timings on that, literally within 2 or 3 HP of each other. And Tim going to town with his probe a little bit, annoying Babo's gas mining. And Babo's going to need to pull that probe here, or he's going to lose it. Oh man, I thought Tim might have stayed and gone for the kill. But he does not opt to do so, and Babo is going to check the center. Now, Tim is known for playing reasonably standard, but like any decent player, that doesn't mean he will always, 100% of the time, bring out the standard play. So we have the Zealot here coming to the ramp for a Fanaticist. And do we have a spinning core yet from either player? No, we'll just watch that gas, but I don't think any player is going to fake gas or range starts here for both players. So both players are 1 gate and range. So we're going to rule out any DT builds, any funky tech builds, and then it'll just be a question of how many more gateways are we going to place. Another thing, of course, it'll be interesting to watch is Jealous and his gateway placements. He is very much into base building, to the extent that he has considered making an ID of Harangue 3, kind of like Harangue, but, because it looks like a Harangue 2, and go for Harangue 3. In homage of that and in his love of base building layouts. He actually says he's so much into having a good layout that when he doesn't have a good layout of gateways, he finds it really throws off his macro. And Probe's still out searching here for Jealous. He's unfortunately went cross up, and now he has to go all the way cross. So he's not going to see anything, but it's PvP. You're not going to see much anyway. We can see Tim is going for that. Well, they're both going for that 1-gate robo shenanigan business. Again, very, very similar timings, almost identical builds at this point. And will Tim be able to stop the probe of Jealous from seeing the Nexus? No. Okay, so actually Jealous is going to get a full scout here. Tim just out of position for this, and that's going to be nice. Jealous is going to be like, oh, we're playing a raw skill game here. Mirror second gateways, just everything identical. We've got the robo at the ramp so we can crawl the Reavers out. And I think that likely will define both players as expanding. Tim's going to walk his Dragoon up here, C2 on the ramp. Now, of course, he doesn't know exactly what Jealous is doing yet. Looks like that probe did get killed at some point. One of these guys has the, here's the assassin. The Stone Cold Killer Dragoon. Hey, it's Evil Eye. The god of low APM Protoss play. And one of the better CPL players of a season or two ago. All right, so the Robo Support Bay is going to come up for both players. Tim confident from what he saw. It's not going to be DTs. Same for Babo, so they're just going to go straight into those Reavers. And then we'll see who drops the first Nexus. Neither player is close to Nexusing at this point, though. 4 Dragoons out. Again, almost identical supplies. Maybe a Goon being cut here. No, Fanaticist does start that Dragoon. And both players just ecoing up here. Like I said, literally so far I've played this game 100% identically. We have the same Goon counts, same build orders, very similar in the style of positioning. I mean, which that's smart PvP, but still, nonetheless, we're going to have the first intercept here. So a Fanaticist now loses 1 supply relative to Tim. And I think Fanaticist perhaps ready to drop the Nexus now, has the probe just chilling at the natural. And we've got Observatory here. All right, we have maybe the first deviation here with Tim going for faster obs. Of course, he hasn't been in the base, whereas Fanaticist has been in the base. Jealous has been in the base. He does know the build, so not as much urgency to rush out that ob. I mean, yeah, it's nice to have an ob to kind of get a sense of where the army's going, but it's not urgent. And Tim is going to send a Zealot up here, checking for a base, and possibly going to bang away at this pylon and or sack the Zealot here. But it has been seen here, and Jealous just wants to deny that Zealot. Let's see if Tim gets any sort of vision here. He'll obviously get to see the army and the Reaver, but he does not know for sure if there's a Nexus. Now, there's a pylon here, so I think he's going to suspect it, that there will be, but it doesn't guarantee it. And we can see Fanaticist has not yet taken that Nexus. He's still very much just producing a Reaver Goon off of these 2 gateways here. And the same, of course, for Tim. But Tim is definitely ready to Nexus. So this is going to be... Is it going to be our first major point of deviation, or is Fanaticist going to throw down a Nexus of his own? And Tim is going to go around here. I guess he wants to snipe the pylon. Make Babo a little more uncertain of what's going on. And Tim does drop the Nexus here. Babo is gaining money, so we're going to have rather similar Nexus timings. That these group of goons literally like a gateway on the map. I was like, what the hell? All right, so we're having a bit of an exchange over here. And right now, it looks to be Tim getting the better of it. I believe he sent over 5 goons, and he's lost a couple here. And now bringing up the shuttle, and unfortunately, Fanaticist has decided to crawl a Reaver over here, but it is in snipe land, and the rest of his army is disconnected here. Can he get over here with the shuttle in time to save the Reaver? It's going to be a good pickup if he can get out of here, and he does need to back up, but he's already lost a few goons. Advantage goes to Tim right now. He's got the pickup. Both Reavers are down, and we're going to be exchanging aggression. Those are great initial Scarabs, but the Dragoon count for Fanaticist rapidly thinning. Probably at the end of the day, this will be an even trade, especially with Tim a bit far from his Reaver, but there will need to be reinforcements crawling down, although now that there's still a Reaver left in the shuttle, this is going to be bad news for Fanaticist. I thought the Reavers would trade out, and then it would probably go even from there, but the Reaver's still alive, so this is incredibly dangerous here. Fanaticist hanging on for dear life. He's trying to assassinate the shuttle or the Reaver, but the control so far pretty sharp from Tim on top of the factors with a Reaver. GG is called. That one spirals right out of control. And I guess a little bit my fault there for missing the beginning of that engagement on the hill. We don't know for sure if that cost Jealous, but oh man, it was just unfortunate that he was not quite able to get that last Scarab off. Had that Reaver died, 100% Fanaticist can hold that, and it's honestly not that terrible of a situation. But the unfortunate loss of that Reaver. And that will put Tim at a 1-0 advantage. Cross game. Oh, yeah. Okay. So cross game is out. Now Tim gets a strike 2, so no Colo. And Overwatch. All right. So Coliseum and Overwatch have been banned. Go GZ. Ground Zero, okay. Ground Zero, the next map of choice here. 2019 Season 1, Ground Zero. Oh, IC Cup Ground Zero. Whoa. All right. Let's get some confirmation from Tim. Here we go. Game number 2, Babbo down 1-0. So in the top left-hand corner, we have iRk's Tim leading 1-0. And on the right side of ground zero is the green Protoss needing to make something happen to avoid a deep shift in momentum. In the favor of Tim, we have Fanaticist, a.k.a. Jealous, a.k.a. Babbo, a.k.a. Choboswaggins, a.k.a. well, there's a lot of a.k.a.s I could go with. And now we'll see. Jealous definitely does have a lot of builds in his repertoire. Tim might as well, but Jealous definitely is comfortable with them. Does not always play standard. And Jealous is generally quite confident in PvP. Feels quite good about that matchup. It's one of his stronger Protoss matchups. So I would not count him out, even if Tim is the favored player for sure here. So we got the pylon going down for both players. How identical are we on timings this time? All right, this time it's a little bit faster for Fanaticist. Last time their builds were like creepily identical, even at the level of like second gateway. You know, 4 minutes in, they're still within like 10, 15 HP of each other on their building timings. All right, so pylon is down, gateway and gateway. Right, or is it going to be? Is it going to be a 12 next from Tim? Yeah, I think it's going to be an X versus PvP. Alrighty. Either that or I have no idea what Tim is doing. Oh, and Babbo scouts the wrong direction, so that's not going to be an ideal start for Babbo. And there was recently some discussion about how to play against this. So Babbo will unfortunately be scouting a little bit late, but we'll see how he responds here to the relatively greedy opener here of iRk's Tim. And then the next big question will be, is he going to be playing it the guide variation on TL, the one other variation? If he does, he will build a 12 gateway, and then he'll make a 14 gateway. I'll pump 5 zealots and use those zealots to pressure. And the idea behind those 5 zealots is mostly to break the ramp and get up, get a scout off, see what's going, and then react accordingly. And it looks like that's what he's doing. Actually, he's going to make a gateway on 13, so cutting even harder, going rapidly into that 2-gate play, whereas Babbo is opening up off of a more standard 1-gate variety. Probe from Tim arriving, and this build plays out interestingly because this is basically just a delayed 2-gate. So if Babbo stays on 1 gate, it does get pressured by Zealots. Not enough to have the Zealots do significant damage unless you have very poor micro, but it does do enough damage to... You pretty much can't just hold at the ramp and be like, oh, okay, that was dumb. I don't know why he sent those zealots at me. Like, you're going to have to run back. You're going to maybe have to do a little bit of drilling, a little bit of microing, but it's not like, oh my god, I'm going to die kind of micro. All right, so in comes the scouting probe here from Fanaticist, and he sees the Nexus, and he waltzes on in. And then we'll be watching for the response here. He sees that it's double gateway variation. Not super greedy. No probes being produced yet for Tim. No gas. Again, just going into the zealots. It looks like it's going to be 3 zealots into gas. And the probe is just going to be a live scouting. Babbo immediately grabbing a Dragoon, heading across the map. And he's actually just going to respond with a Nexus of his own off of low Dragoon count. So he's basically accepting a slightly weaker economy and hoping that he can do enough pressure quick enough to buy time. He can soften up these zealots with the Dragoons before they get across the map, keep Tim in the dark, and more or less equalize the game by making Tim have to respond to too many different possibilities. You know, if you have to build 2 cannons in the main because of DTs, a few cannons outside your base, etc., etc., if he can deny that kind of information for Tim, it's really powerful. However, Tim is coming straight across the map. There's not a second Dragoon, so he's basically going to be able to see the Nexus, and that will give him a much better idea of where Babbo is going to take this game. No range has started yet. So these Dragoons are just going to be microing back, trying to soften up these Zealots. And Tim just coming across again. This is the 5 Zealots, and then we will go into a few cannons. He has already built the Forge. He has the core coming down here. So this being played pretty textbook right now. Babo doing a pretty good job, in all honesty, softening up these Zealots, but obviously no way to kill them quick enough to stop Tim from seeing the Nexus. Now, he looks like he might be able to stop these Zealots from getting up the ramp, although there's no range, which is making this micro a little difficult for him. He needs to be careful here not to get sandwiched. And actually, with the 4 Zealots now arriving and linking up, it looks like Tim is going to get up the ramp. He will get off a scout. He will see a spinning core and a second gateway, but he won't see much beyond that. Although the spinning core, obviously insightful, not likely to be DTs with no other tech building in sight. There's a split on the Zealots toward the mineral line, also to check the base, I imagine, here. And again, this micro is a little bit difficult for Fanaticist because, and unfortunately, yeah, he's losing a Dragoon right now, which he did not want because he doesn't have range yet. So, you know, not much range to work with. Only has a couple hexes of micro. This Zealot actually is at 2 kills. The drill is decent, but this is a lot of damage for Tim, and with a full scout, unfortunately, Babo and a Dragoon kill, like, Babo is not in a good position from this. This has really done quite a bit, and it's making this Nexus look very, very powerful, in all honesty. So, yeah, Tim has had to make a few cannons, but he's actually already producing Dragoons of his own off of 2 gateways. Now, his goon count is just a smidge behind Babo's, but only a smidge. 1 Dragoon versus 3. I don't know where he's going. And Tim's stuck on 2 gateways, but has a pretty good idea of where Babo is taking this, and is just going to go straight into that robo. Babo is going to immediately rally goons across, and there's a good chance he'll play this, or try to play this, a bit like a Hydra Bust in ZVP, where he just tries to gather up Dragoons and take down the cannons, but I think Tim's Dragoon count is increasing a little too fast for that to be successful, especially given the lack of range. Now, he will be able to force these Dragoons back behind the cannon for sure. Well, actually, maybe not, because without range, yeah, they can just sit there without range. So that actually is okay for the moment. He is going to get a 4th cannon out of Tim, though, so that part is good. We've got a 3rd gateway from Tim, so from a gateway standpoint, no, not going to really be an army opportunity, especially with 4 cannons. Like, Babo's not going to break this with army, and Babo is not playing tech behind this. It looks like he's going to go expand and try to get back into the game that way, which can work, particularly if Tim makes a mistake and bleeds a Dragoon or something like that. Getting a 5th cannon now, so definitely... Oh, no, this is just a pylon. Okay, that's smart. At the 4 cannon level, it actually is worth it to target the pylon because of the HP differences. 3 cannons, you should always kill cannons because it's the same HP as a pylon, but as you kill each individual cannon, you'll lessen the DPS. But at 4 pylons, 4 cannons, yeah, that's 400, 400 versus 300, 300. But of course, with double pylon, the power to the cannons is quite safe. And Tim is actually feeling rather safe because he is building an observatory. And he is forcing a cannon in the main from Tim. So really, at this point, I think Fanaticist, if he knew that Tim was doing all of these things, he would be feeling not so bad about this position and this game. But because he lost 3 probes and a Dragoon, I think he's not quite as comfortable as he would otherwise like to be. And Tim, you got to fix that rally, bro. Oh! All right, well, that's Tim giving back a little bit to Babo. I mean, it looks minor, but that's somewhat significant. And of course, the Reaver's coming up for Tim. I'm assuming he's not going to take a shuttle and just go drop goons in the base of Babo 2 at a time. We'll see a Reaver coming out of him here. And then it's going to be a little bit of a difficult defense here for Fanaticist because he is investing in that Nexus, and Tim is going to be on 3 gateways, 3 versus 3, but also a Reaver and Dragoons. It's really going to be important here, and Tim is going to go in here and try to break this, going to force Babo back, so he will gain control of the front, but remember, there are a few Dragoons over here, and Tim will see that. And so Babo commits to the fight here, and, you know, the lower that Babo can keep the Dragoon count in a lot of ways, the better for him, as long as he has, like, numbers, because it's much easier to snipe a shuttle if the Dragoon count is lower. And he could actually consider running in here and attacking this. He's got a really nice arc. And, yeah, he's going to have to force those Dragoons back at the cannons. But, again, we have that first Reaver, and these first hits are pretty critical here. So Tim will probably get cagey and try to get off a free hit or 2. And how quickly will Babo react? Okay, got to be careful, but there's already 1 juicy Scarab. Babo really can't afford to take more Scarabs than that with this push coming up. Observer unfortunately dies, so this base remaining unscouted here for Tim. A little too focused on the Crawl Reaver micro right there. And so now Babo is responding. He's adding, another gateway, going for a Citadel. He's actually cannoned up his main in case of DTs. Unfortunately for him, both of these cannons unnecessary, so he does give it back a little bit of that advantage. But he's mining from his third base, which economically will soon start to swing the game into Fnatic's favor. But Tim is already on 4, going to a 5th gateway. Now Babo's adding his gateways right now. So it's going to be this tense position here. Tim's going to come out with a powerful 2 Reaver attack, well microed, or a mistake from Babo, or if he has to fight in a choke, Tim can just win outright. But it's going to be a little bit difficult here, and initially some good shots from Babo, but he's going to have to pull back here. And now is the really dangerous time. He's moving forward, actually. I'm surprised he's committing to this fight, but I don't think it's working for him. He's already eating quite a few Scarabs, and this is not a good initial start to this fight. Another Scarab goes off, and now Babo is running home and in very big trouble. He basically needs a snipe on this shuttle or some sort of mistake here. Yes, he has the 6 gateways, but Tim is rallying across from 6 of his own. So if he can hold, it's great, but the hold is looking very difficult given the damage he's going to take, but he's going to try to abuse this here, try to get a good arc, and Tim is being smart about this. He's going to get the shuttle and the DPS down, and there's not a big spread on the Dragoons here from Babo right now, and he doesn't have enough to win the fight straight up. And remember, the reinforcements are equal here, so I don't think this is going to be enough from Babo. Great pick up there. That is most likely going to do it. I think Tim will be able to finish the game from here. If you run in on that, a whole Scarab goes off and you can't get shuttle snipes. But the only thing is Tim is not reinforcing, which means he might just run out of units. He wants the snipe, Babo does. He gets one of the Reavers. That's a start. If only he could get both, then you can hold. But here, without the reinforcements, they've been a little bit slow for Tim. I don't know if he paused them or forgot to reinforce, but that's giving Babo a little bit more of a window than Tim would have liked to try and hold. I can't guarantee a hold, but it's looking like Fnaticist might have a hold, and we're going to swing back here. Wait, does Tim somehow know about this base, or is this actually just a scout? Oh my god, but it's at the third base, and the probes have to run, but this looks like it could be a money scarab. Oh, unfortunately, it picks the wrong probe. Could this one go off as a money scarab? A medium one, but Babo is holding with the Dragoons right here, and the numbers look pretty equal. Tim does have +1, but so does Babo. Unfortunately, Dragoon is not fighting here. Probe's coming in to add a little DPS, but Tim makes a mistake with the shuttle, and Babo gets the snipe. I think it will be possible for Babo to hold now. He could actually send the probes back, but he's got a cannon back here. He's got 6 gateways. The goon count and reinforcements should be relatively equal. So, yeah, Babo is holding on in this game, but, of course, with probe kills and stuff lost, not necessarily at an overwhelming advantage, and I don't know if Tim has enough to go for the killing blow. With reinforcements, he shouldn't, and neither player has missed a round of macro critically, but, gateway count is good for Tim here. Babo needs to be very careful, though. A bad fight at this point could still be a huge deal, but he does kind of feel the need to be out here on the map, because, of course, there's an exposed third base, and this is where he has to pull back, and he does react quickly enough. He needs to have his own reinforcements coming down. I wonder if we'll see speed lots from either player soon. Unfortunately, he does have a Dragoon sitting back here, and Tim is going to gain the high ground. Probes are drilling, but they won't be able to stop the Dragoons from getting onto that. Well, maybe they actually will be able to stop the Dragoons from getting onto the high ground, but does Babo have enough? Honestly, it just doesn't look like it here, which means that Tim will continue to trade more efficiently and is shutting down the mining on this third base. Reinforcing Zealots coming over, but there's no speed done yet. And that's not going to be enough here, so Tim's goons are going to scuttle back, clean up the last Dragoon here from Babo, and continue to pressure. Leg speed needs to kick in very bad, but Babo is holding on to this third, but only by the skin of his teeth. Tim very committed to breaking this, actually going up to his 7th gateway, and Babo thinking, well, Tim isn't expanding. If I can just possibly hold here. He's putting up a few cannons to assist that hold, but Tim with a large reinforcement. What do we have? 4 Dragoons here, and then we've got 7 here. We do have about a control group from Babo, and I think there might just be enough units to hold, but Tim is moving in here to gain the ramp, and oh, he's brought a Reaver. Oh, this changes things quite a bit if he has, and if he's brought 2 Reavers, heaven forbid, that's going to be incredibly hard. Immediately, there's just the shite of the shuttle, and the army getting up there, forcing the cancel, and this is not what Babo wanted. It was definitely a mistake. Out of position. Is it 1 Reaver? It looks like it's 1 Reaver. Speed kicking in here for Tim. I like this decision, though, from Babo to pick off reinforcements, but Tim has found a way to kill the Nexus, and Tim has otherwise good economy, so at best Babo can hope for here is an even game, but this Reaver, just an absolute game changer. Lots of Zealots. Where is the speed, though? Babo still doesn't have his leg speed upgrade. Tim clearly does. Babo needs it. I guess if the fight stalls out, then it becomes kind of even with Zealots fighting each other, but this Reaver is a major issue. Babo does get a pretty good split on his Zealots, but Reavers fight fairly well against Zealots overall. Zealots tending to clump up here, and that Reaver damage is proving to be too much. The supplies plummeting, and Babo forced back, still not on speed. And I think now Tim will be able to just break. He's actually sending the shuttle to harass into the natural with the speed, but there's just not enough units here from Babo. One cannon, the Reaver can park itself over here, and Babo doesn't have a very good response. He's almost expecting that. Here comes the Reaver. Is there a response from the probes? Kind of-ish, but oh, that's a pretty darn good Scarab, and I think Tim is throwing the nail in the coffin here, swinging in for the bust. Babo is defending his best, but he doesn't even have a way to get at the Reaver. The Zealots are just not helpful in that situation. Scarab's going off. Tim actually flying the Reaver into the main, but he's broken at the front and back here in the base. Another Scarab tries to go off. That was actually a really bad dud Scarab. And Tim... Oh! Just as I say that, I lied. It goes off, and GG is called. Tim goes to 2-0 advantage. Babo was close-ish to making that work, but in the end, couldn't quite do it. Tim just a little too strong, getting that position there at the end and making the choice to bring another Reaver up. So will Jealous ban Crossgam again? Alright, Tim's saying, okay, so yeah, cross whatever, and Fanaticist picks Colosseum as our potential final map. Alright, here we go. Fanaticist looking to avoid 3-0, get back into the series, do what he can. Here we go. So in the bottom left here at game point, 1 game away from taking the series, from iRk, we have Tim. And in the bottom right-hand side of the map, as the White Protoss, we have Fanaticist. Yeah, I don't know why people would be expecting Terran though, especially because Babo's Terran, it's okay, it's good, but it's not anywhere near the level of his Protoss. All right, will Babo break out some cheddar? Will Tim break out some cheddar? 2-0 lead can be a good time to throw something surprising into the situation. All right, so Tim is going to drop a pylon here in the main, as is Babo. So we're not breaking out the full cheddar style. Oh yeah, there are 2 Babos. There's truth to that. There's a rather high-ranked Babo that is up well north of 2K. And then there is Fanaticist, Jealous, Murder Erotica, etc., who also goes by SGS Babo or Chobos Wagons or a bunch of other names. And he is closer to around 1900 to 2K level, so... yeah. Alright, so here comes the gateway from Babo. And the gateway already started here for Tim. So it looks, at the moment, like we're not going to see anything too intense from either player. Oh, he said he was going to T if he was down 2-0. Oh, that's interesting. Well, he definitely did not go Terran. He's going to go 2-gate, though. Alright, so Babo opts to have 2-gate, and this is good for him. It is non-ramped, and Tim is scouting in the worst possible directions for this. But Tim, I said this was good for him, but Tim also sensing this and is also going to go for a 2-gate here on this non-ramp map. Evil Eye asking about Oreos for me. Well, currently, if anything, the kick is probably Ben & Jerry's ice cream, but trying to keep that stuff on the DL a little bit here. Alright, so the probe for Fanaticist sweeps in. Not going to find anything here. Both players going to take quite a while to find each other. We've got a Zealot in production. Second pylon coming up, so the execution here pretty crisp. Zealot starts almost immediately in this gateway. And just rolling on now. Will it be 3 slots and tech? Yes, it will. No. Okay, so for the first time in a casted game, we're going to see someone commit to more than 3 slots. Tim is going to go with the standard, though, which is 3 slots tech, 3 slots gas. A little bit of a variation, a little bit of a deviation here. So very aggressive Zealots, probably into expansion for Jealous. First zealot all the way across. He's going to find it, and he's going to be, oh, you're also doing this. Okay, that's not what I was hoping for, but okay. And then we should see a Nexus here out of Fanaticist, especially now that he knows it's 2-gate. I don't think he's just going to relentlessly pump slots. Bringing the probe back here. Tim, of course, coming across the map. Jealous hasn't showed his hand yet, but Tim has waltzed in with the probe, so he has obviously seen that there's 2 gateways. Just checking for the Nexus that he does not yet see. And interestingly, Babo's doing 5 Zealot gas. So I don't really like that for Babo. It's just going to be faster tech for Tim, which is going to be nice. Might even have a little bit of a dangerous window to abuse goon range where Babo doesn't. And now these lots pushing out across the map here, looking for a little bit of vengeance. Wow, Tim is actually intimidated enough. I guess he's paused his Dragoons hard enough for this core that he feels the need to build a battery against this just to make sure he's safe. And Babo is waiting for that 5th Zealot, but doesn't actually want to dive in here and pressure, so that's going to be good for Tim. I guess it's good that he forced a battery, but obviously the core is way faster here for Tim. And now Tim has 5 slots, so this will not go anywhere for Jealous. I doubt he'll even try to fight here. I guess he wants to at least walk around and threaten Tim, but I mean, there's a probe in here. That's going to add a little DPS, but Tim is getting the better of this arc. Jealous with the better of this arc. This Zealot goes all the way back, though, to the battery, and Jealous, realizing what's happening, says, okay, I can't fight this, and Tim does pick off the probe. 2 more Zealots arriving here, but Dragoons are about to start popping. Last round of Zealots here from Babo. Core comes up, and where do we go from here? A pylon at the moment. 2 Dragoons here for Tim. I don't think Babo will fight this, but he does have numbers on the Zealots and some pretty good surrounds, so he might press on for a little bit here. At least kill the Zealots and force the Dragoons to micro. It's a really good surround, and Tim is not getting the best of this fight. Now, his Dragoons are obviously adding some DPS, but Dragoons kill Zealots very slowly here. So Babo doing some work with this 2-gate. I mean, this is a lot of Zealots left, although a lot of them are pretty red, but there will be 2 more arriving, and then Babo is going to follow this up with a pylon on the high ground. Is there a forge making? Where are we going with this? Are we going to proxy gates and just go with full slot or into a 4-gate goon? But there's a 3rd gate and a battery from Tim, which is paying off really well. That's going to... in fact, Tim's going to make a few Zealots to deal with this right now, but he is getting a few probes murdered here. That's 3 already. And, I mean, yeah, Babo has to be careful to lose units, but that's a lot of probe kills. Some serious economic damage right now for Babo. And a pinned Dragoon. Oh, not quite pinned. That would have been a very nice interception if he could have got that. He could have just continued to pressure. Now, Babo looks like he's going to add gates here on the high ground. This is unknown to Tim. Unless he kills this off, he won't be going to the high ground right now. And we've got some nice Zealot pulls here. But again, this battery is very useful. But the Zealots of Babo are trading out very nicely. And this is going well. But now at 4 Dragoon mark, that's a little too much, and this will mean Babo, yeah, needs to be careful. He doesn't really want Tim to get up on the high ground here. Oh, he actually is trying to add a cannon, but will Tim see it? No, not yet. Babo is going to sneak up onto the high ground, but that might actually incite Tim up here. But this cannon is very close to finishing. Good use of the high ground so far by Babo. This is going to add to the strength of this contain, but it's just 1 cannon, and there aren't enough goons here. I believe that Tim will just outright break this. The 1 cannon does have value. Tim doesn't see it yet. Now he does, but 1 cannon against 4 or 5 Dragoons is not enough, and this is a nice decision from Tim to park his Dragoons. He's going to get up on the high ground, and this part of it is going to get broken, and so Babo needs to back these goons up right now and retreat. He cannot continue to pressure. He's only on 2 gates. I'm surprised he's going for it. I guess he thinks he's got the advantage here with this Dragoon, but it's clearly not. So clearly it's Tim that's going to take this fight, and Tim opting to make a few more Zealots, but there's only a 3rd gateway coming up right now. Babo has done some good initial damage, but it looks like it might be slipping away from him. He's continuing to be aggressive here, continuing to reinforce this, but he doesn't have to. He's gotten good probe kills. If he can just fall back, expand, and defend, economically his position will be reasonably good, I'm assuming here. We see about 10 probes on each of these. So yeah, the economy is definitely 4 or 5 probes better for Babo. And Tim is going to go very aggressive with this. We see the robo being added. And I assume this is aggressive because he's seen goon aggression with range from Babo, which means one thing and one thing only. There's no way you're going DTs with that. So I doubt he's doing this to get an obs. Actually, range is not done, so maybe he is scared enough to get an obs. Range needs to finish. That's a big deal. If he doesn't have range... And he's down. Oh, well, he can at least get the initial shots here, but now 2 more goons coming up. This is some serious numbers right now for Tim. Babo absolutely has to make sure every shot he gets is on the high ground, but this Zealot from Tim, very powerful. It's going to tank. It's going to force Babo back, and he's got nowhere to run to. He's going to get pinned in here. Tim's getting extra shots. That's probably going to be enough to end the game, as Babo is basically going to lose these Dragoons completely for free, and I don't think he'll have enough to fall back here against Tim. At least his range is on. Okay, he's going to try to find a high ground spot. He definitely needs to do that. It's a smart decision. He does get 1 Dragoon down. He's going to have to pull a lot of probes, though. That'll probably even up the economy game if he can even hold, but Tim will be in a good position, and of course a Nexus has not yet been dropped for Fanaticis. Good ramp usage, does get the Zealot pick off. He's getting as many shots off on the high ground as possible here, but reinforcing Dragoons coming up from Tim here. Babo has to pull probes if he wants to live or fight any further, but it doesn't look like he wants to do that, and GG is called. It's gonna be a 3-0 solid victory here for iRk's Tim.